freedom too, but that is by definition impossible because socialism aims to make everybody in society as equal as possible. And if you wanted to make them totally equal, you would have to totally take away their freedom. Societies like this are all the countries in the world that we call communist countries. Real communist countries actually cannot exist because in communism there exist no countries. The countries that we call communist countries are actually socialist countries. And that means countries like the Soviet Union, Eastern Germany, Cambodia, North Korea, China, Cuba, Vietnam, etc. None of those countries have ever achieved communism. But at the height of the Communist Party's rule in those countries, they truly have achieved socialism and have achieved at least as much equality as humanly possible. But at those times, those countries were also necessarily the least free. During those times, people were severely punished or even killed instantly for anything that would make you different, and that in normal societies wouldn't be considered crimes at all, like wearing different clothing, wearing different hairstyle, having more private possessions than others, or even having private possessions at all, believing in an ideology other than communist ideology, opposing or criticizing communist ideology, trying to sell or buy things to or from people other than the state, running a business not controlled by the state, trying to leave the state or trying to live at a nicer place, etc. Uh, Severely punishing such activity is necessary for ensuring state control over the economy as required by socialism, ensuring the Communist Party's unchallenged rule, and ultimately achieving the communists' goal of as much equality in society as possible. So then you have a society that is totally equal, but also at the same time necessarily totally restricted, even though communists have promised the people freedom. This period of socialism, in which freedom is restricted to achieve equality, is not seen as ideal even by communists, but is deemed necessary because it is believed that after this period, communism would automatically follow, and then people would finally be both equal and free. And then the restrictive elements of socialism would no longer be needed. But naturally, this hasn't happened because it's just not possible. Because such a society as communism, where people are absolutely free and absolutely equal, simply cannot exist because freedom and equality are opposite to each other. As soon as you allow the people living in a socialist country to be free and without restriction, it will not result in so-called communism at all, but instead people will immediately cease to be equal, and on top of that, things like private property, private companies, a free market economy, hardworking and lazy, rich and poor, religious belief, and above all, opposition to socialism and communism, etc., would immediately crop up. And a socialist economy, as well as the unchallenged rule of the Communist Party, would be completely gone overnight, as has happened in the Soviet Union and Eastern Germany, or in Eastern Europe. All the other aspects of communism are equally contradicting and therefore impossible, because the violent abolition of all social structures, including previous laws, moral codes, and religious beliefs, simply can't lead to a peaceful society, and neither can you improve people's rights by taking their rights away, because in communism only the commune, the collective matters. Only the collective can own something and make decisions. An individual has no rights. He can't possess anything, not even his own body, because even he himself is disposable when compared to the needs of the collective. And any individual will need to be disposed of the moment his actions run contrary to the achievement of communist goals, like by disagreeing with communism or not believing in materialism. None of the things communism promises could be achieved by following communist ideology. Communists promise you peace, but use brutal violence to achieve their goals. They promise you freedom and the abolition of exploitation, but take away all of your possessions, don't allow you to disagree, and force you to work solely for them. They promise you the abolition of class discrimination and achieve it by committing genocide of entire classes. And that's why their nice sounding promises have never and will never be reached. Communist leaders like Lenin, Stalin, Mao, Pol Pot, Honecker, Fidel Castro, Kim Il-sung, Jiang Zemin, etc. have all long realized this and have eventually stopped pursuing the goal of communism. Instead, their goal shifted from achieving communism to simply achieving and maintaining their position of power for as long as possible and with any means necessary. So while they have initially gained power by promising freedom and power to the people, freedom and the power in hands of the people have now become their biggest enemy. Also, while they have no intention or means of achieving the heaven on earth that they promised, they in a sense did hold their promise. For example, North Korea and China are a heaven on earth in a certain sense, even they um, even they always get called hell on earth by people from Western countries. And that's exactly the point. They only get called a hell on earth by people from other countries and not by the majority of their own people. Otherwise, their rule would collapse. Many of the people in China and North Korea, etc., actually do believe that they live in a heaven on earth, either because they are poor and get exploited, but because of control over the media, um, they lack the standard of comparison to realize that they are bad off, or because they are among the few high-ranking party members who actually are pretty well off. Also, while religion has been largely abolished or altered to serve the Communist Party, religion too has not been completely abolished, and God has not been abolished. It's just that now it is a different God from before. Many people were religious believers before the Communist Party came to power, and it is natural for some people to worship higher beings. Having been denied that, they simply shift their worship from worshipping God to worshipping the Communist Party leaders, which, in the eyes of the party leaders, is the ultimate proof of their power over the people.